Did I hear you right? You said the economy?
Yes, the economy.
Okay.
The Des Moines Register's Iowa poll last month found that 90% of Iowans believe the country is still at risk for another financial meltdown. Only 7% believe that enough has been done to prevent a similar crisis in the future. Do you agree that the country is at risk? And if so, what would you change about Dodd-Frank, for example, some of the financial regulations, or generally in the economy to fix that?
Okay, first of all, a number of the candidates have mentioned, for example, somebody mentioned we can't cut our way to a balanced budget. Matt talks about Social Security not being there. Hey, come on. We've got millions of people in this country who depend on income from Social Security. It's got to be permanent. No cutting it. It's paid for by a special tax. My amendment fixes it some more. Everybody read that amendment, see how it works. It vests Social Security benefits. It vests Medicare. And you guys who are attorneys know what vesting means. Permanent. Okay. Now, the balanced budget amendment, here's how it works. We take away, we say Congress shall not borrow any money. Okay? We're going to fund it with the sales tax. A man was sitting over here at Mason City. He said, oh, well, how can we pay this? We're $1 trillion short. So we're going to fund it. We're going to fund it this way. We're going to fund it with a small sales tax. We're going to exempt food for human consumption, exempt rents, real estate. We're going to give Congress the power to do other exemptions, okay? And we're going to limit it to 50% of total spending. It's not a new slush fund for Congress to spend. It's just a budget balancer. Okay, then we're going to cold turkey. We're going to balance the budget. We're going to stop deficit spending. And then we're going to fix some of these other problems. Nibbling the federal budget isn't going to do it. That's what these other candidates will do. I won't nibble. I will fix it. It's got to be fixed.
Joni Ernst.
I do believe we are at great risk with our economy, and I think we're at a greater risk now than we have ever been in recent history. But I think we need to repeal those bad laws, and those would be laws such as Dodd-Frank. We need to shutter Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They should go away. We need to stop government bailouts. There are a number of things that we can do. But we also need to repeal Obamacare, which we know right now is the biggest threat to jobs here in Iowa. I've mentioned some of those already. A local businessman that I spoke with, a car dealer, the cost of insurance to his employees and to him, it is going up $500,000, $500,000 to pay for Obamacare. That's crazy. So we need to repeal Obamacare, replace it with market-driven solutions. We need to lower taxes, which will stimulate the economy, and we need to do that immediately for our hardworking Americans and our businesses. But we need to scrap the tax code and replace it with fairer, flatter, and simpler rules and regulations that are pro-growth. And we also need to, again, stop our government overreach. And we've done that here in the state of Iowa. We have seen Iowa become much more business-friendly, and we've gone from over 6% unemployment down to 4.9% unemployment, which now puts us at 8th lowest in the nation. So we are setting the example here in Iowa. We are doing things right. We need to take this example to Washington, D.C., and that's why I want to be your next United States Senator, is to take these Iowa values to Washington, D.C.
Thank you. David Young.
We need to get the economy rolling again, and we need to cut the budget. Obamacare's got to go. People are afraid to hire. Keystone Pipeline goes from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico. It's not even a taxpayer-funded project. Yet President Obama, for the last 5 years, has kept his thumb on that and not given it a waiver to let it go. You know, I was in Spencer, Iowa, at Maurer Manufacturing, and they make trailers, and they make really big trailers, and they said, David, we could hire a lot of people if Keystone was approved. The same with XL Specialized Trailers in Manchester. And the rules and regs that are coming out of this administration, when they should be going through Congress and the legislative process, cap and trade is going to kill our economy. Bruce Braley is a big fan of cap and trade. That will hurt our farmers, our manufacturers. It'll hurt our power rates that you're going to pay your electricity bills. And we got to get at the tax code to get this thing rolling. Flatter, fair, simpler. We have to have that debate, folks. And any tax reform has to be revenue neutral. We cannot raise taxes. So that's what we need to do.
Thank you. Matt Whitaker.
Thank you. This week, I had an article published in the Des Moines Register, and not to steal Paul's line, but you should read my article. And in it...
It was yesterday. I read it.
And in it... And in it, I point out that recently we've had over 200 regulations, each costing $100 million each, come down from the federal government. And those regulations and the tax uncertainty and the economic uncertainty and a Federal Reserve that carries a $4 trillion balance sheet is providing an uncertain basis and foundation for our economy. The thing I want to talk about the Federal Reserve just a minute because it all is related. And one of the concerns I have is, as President Reagan once said, is the only thing close to eternal life is a federal program. Well, we may be reaching that point with their current program, their $85 billion a month quantitative easing. And that is a program that we're going to have a very difficult time getting out of. And it is related. It's related to Dodd-Frank. Once again, Obama and his folks believe that if we have a crisis, it's a great opportunity to put in new regulations. And as someone that serves on a community bank board, I see the implementation of Dodd-Frank being a complete disaster and requiring the compliance costs of all sorts of financial businesses to increase and to put extreme pressure on how are they going to comply with all these rules and regulations coming out of Washington, D.C. And so, as the small business owner here on the stage, and as someone that is in this economy, we have to fix these problems, and we have to fix them sooner rather than later, or we're going to be in for more trouble, not less.
Thank you. Scott Shaver.
Thank you. Yes, we have to be very, very careful with our finances right now. Everything from our national debt to the amount of money that we're spending. Matt mentioned quantitative easing. Before 2009, I believe, we had $600 to $700 billion in the Federal Reserve. Now that's up to $2 trillion. When they started quantitative easing, they started at $20 billion a month, and now they're up to $85 billion. Now they're up to $85 billion a month. Most of that's mortgage-backed security, something that we had to use before. To end this, to get us out of this, we're going to need unemployment under 6.5%. We're going to need to have a GDP, our gross domestic product, going up by 5% per year. So how are we going to do that? We're going to have a candidate. We're going to have somebody in the Senate that's looking at ways to end some of our job ending bills. We're going to have somebody that's out there actually looking for the small business person to make it viable for somebody and not intimidating for somebody to open up a business and employ somebody. Right now, unemployment, we're still at almost record high unemployment, and we need to get that down. So we need to have jobs out there so that way we can end the quantitative easing cycle that we're in right now and give us a more stable financial market.
Thank you, Scott. Sam Clovis.
I think one of the things that bothers me the most about this question is the fact that we have so many solutions available and we have no leadership in the Senate or the House or the White House to this. Let me click off a menu of things that might be done. Repeal the Affordable Care Act. Repeal Dodd-Frank. Impose fiscal policy that includes, first off, let's introduce a budget, and then, after we prepare that budget, then let's freeze spending. Let's have tax reform. What about monetary policy? We have to stop quantitative easing. For those of you who don't know what quantitative easing is every person in here had their mother make Kool-Aid with 2 quarts of water, Kool-Aid package, and a cup of sugar. Now imagine taking that, and that's Kool-Aid. We know what that is. Then take that and dump it into 4.5 gallons of water. And what do you have left? It's not Kool-Aid. That's the devaluation of the dollar that is going on right now. The balanced budget amendment, even if we propose Paul's, we'll do that. Energy independence. Energy independence. Imagine the amount of revenue and taxes that we would be able to take in by broadening the base, by making the United States energy independent. Agricultural independence, so that we protect the agricultural markets and make sure that we can feed our nation, then we feed the world. Regulatory moratoriums to change that, because every time a regulation is passed, it steals your liberty and imposes a cost on your pocketbook. Education reform. Do you realize that by every person we graduate from high school, we save ourselves tens of millions of dollars in social costs down the road? Stop having babies out of wedlock. That's another way we can save some money. Just a thought. And let's get immigration reform that really works so that we can take away those social costs that are there. These are all things that can be done, and I am shocked that no one in Washington can come up with the same list that a guy from Western Iowa can.
Thank you, Sam. Candidates, it's time.